You've seen them, right? All those ads for credit card rewards, cashback, travel points, all sorts of perks, and they sound incredible. But from a faith perspective, how should we even approach them? Are they a smart financial blessing, or are they really just a hidden burden? Well, let's dive in and figure it out.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, you get a nice little bonus for spending you were going to do anyway. But on the other hand, let's be real. These programs are designed to make the credit card companies rich. So are we looking at a helpful tool for a wise steward, or a dangerous trap that leads you straight into debt?
So to get to the bottom of this, we're going to walk through 5 key areas. We'll start by figuring out what these rewards really are. Then, we'll look at the dangers of chasing them. After that, we'll cover the super strict rules for using them wisely, explore what the ultimate reward is, and finally, lay out a clear action plan for you.
Okay, let's start with the basics. If we want to know if these rewards are a tool or a trap, we first have to understand what they were actually designed to do in the first place.
Okay, let's be perfectly clear about this. Credit rewards are not free money. It's so important to get this. They are a marketing tool, right? They're an incentive designed by very smart people at these companies to get you to spend more and more often with their card. Sure, they can be a tool in your hands, but they become a trap the second you forget the real purpose.
So, this leads us to the one, and I mean one, non-negotiable rule. If you want to use a rewards card without it becoming a huge financial burden, you must pay the entire balance in full every single month. This is the bright line in the sand. On one side, you get a small benefit. On the other, a heavy burden of debt.
And this timeless piece of biblical wisdom shows us exactly why that rule is so important. When you carry a balance, you're in debt. And just like the proverb says, being in debt takes away your freedom. No amount of travel points, I promise you, can ever make up for losing that.
So what happens when our focus shifts from just using a card to actively chasing the rewards? Well, this is where things get really dangerous. We start to fall in these behavioral traps. Our whole mindset changes. All of a sudden, a purchase isn't about what you need, it's about hitting some rewards tier. We start justifying those little impulse buys because, hey, I get points for it. Or even worse, we actually upgrade our lifestyle, spending more at restaurants or on shopping just to maximize that cash back.
And here's the brutal math of it all. Let's say you're earning a great 2% cashback reward. Sounds fantastic, right? But if you carry a balance, you could be paying a 20% interest rate, or honestly, even higher. The math just doesn't work out. The interest you pay will always wipe out and then quickly surpass any reward you could possibly earn.
You see, when you're carrying a balance, it stops being a reward program. It actually becomes a loss program. You are paying the credit card company way more in interest than they are giving you back in perks. You are losing money, plain and simple, not gaining it.
This really calls for a total shift in our perspective. Instead of asking how many points am I going to get for this, wisdom asks a much deeper question. Is this purchase even necessary? Does it line up with my budget and my goals? It's all about seeking God's guidance, not the guidance of a marketing campaign.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom. There is a way to use these cards wisely, but wow, it requires some serious discipline. Let's look at the very strict conditions where rewards can actually serve you instead of the other way around.
All right, here are the 4 non-negotiable conditions. First, you need a budget in place before you even think about spending. Second, you pay that balance in full every single time. Third, you have to treat it just like a debit card, only spending money you actually have in the bank. And finally, and this is so crucial, you never ever spend an extra dollar just to get a reward.
When you follow those rules, your whole approach changes. This isn't about speculating or trying to game the system for a tiny return. This is about stewardship, responsibly managing the resources God's given you and simply collecting a small bonus on expenses you were already going to pay for, like groceries or gas. And this is the principle at work here. Being faithful and disciplined in these small, everyday financial habits, like sticking to your budget and paying your bills on time, that's what builds the foundation for long-term financial health and real peace.
And that brings us to a higher, and I think a much more important point. Beyond all the points and perks, what is the real reward we should be looking for with our finances? The biblical priority here is crystal clear. We're called to live free from the stress and the obligation of financial debt. So when rewards programs cause anxiety or temptation or lead you to carry a balance, they are working directly against this core principle.
And this is the simple, powerful equation to remember. The feeling of peace, that feeling of knowing you owe no one anything,
is infinitely more valuable than any airline mile or cashback percentage. Peace is always, always greater than perks.
Ultimately, God's desire for our finances isn't about squeezing every last point out of a system. It's about cultivating a life of peace so that we have the freedom to be generous. And debt and the stress of chasing rewards, they're just direct obstacles to that goal.
So, let's bring all of this together into something you can actually use. Here's a clear, practical framework you can apply to your own life starting today.
Here's your checklist for wise stewardship. First, pay in full. Absolutely no exceptions. Never carry a balance just for a reward. Don't let points trick you into lifestyle inflation. Always choose the simplicity of a debt-free life over the status of some premium card. And finally, be really honest with yourself. If these cards are a temptation for you, the wisest decision is to just step away completely.
This image right here says it all. A rewards program should be your servant, working for your disciplined financial plan. It should never, ever become the master that dictates your spending habits.
Let's wrap this up with this powerful reminder. Our own understanding, it can be swayed by really clever marketing and the promise of free stuff. The real call is to trust in God's timeless wisdom for our finances, a wisdom that always leads to peace and freedom, not to points and perks.
So I'll leave you with this one last question. I want you to take an honest look at your habits. When it comes to rewards, are they truly your servant, bringing a small benefit to your already solid financial plan? Or have you become the servant, chasing points, justifying purchases, and sacrificing your peace along the way? The answer, well, it changes everything.